Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Statutory Licensing Subcommittee on Tuesday, the 12th of October, 2021 at 10 a.m. My name is Mark Thomas. I'm the Democratic Services Officer, and I'll be supporting the meeting this morning. Before we go through the process of appointing a chair, and then obviously the proceedings of the meeting, just going to go through some basic admin and housekeeping rules. Can everyone hear okay, or is there any problems with sound? Just put a thumbs up, or
it's okay.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, everyone. Just to confirm that all participants have received and read the papers, which includes the procedure for the meeting. Hopefully everyone's had sight of at least the agenda and on all the associated paperwork. Just to follow on, could all participants mute themselves when not speaking in order to avoid any background noise or feedback, particularly when other participants are speaking. Obviously, if a participant wishes to speak, they can put their hand up if they can be seen, or there's also a hand icon on Teams, or they can put a message in the chat just to get obviously the chair's attention or myself. If any participant has difficulty hearing or being heard, then they should let the chair or myself know. If they have a webcam, they should then try to turn this off, as it should help with increasing the broadband or Wi-Fi, so at least they can hear and be heard. If a participant still has difficulty with their connection, can they please let the Democratic Services know, which is myself, and if required, participants can also dial in via telephone as well. There should be a telephone number provided on the invite that I've sent out to you. If there are any technical issues, then we might need to adjourn the meeting for a short time in order to resolve those, but hopefully we won't have that today. Right, that's the housekeeping rules, everyone. So next I need to turn to nominations for the chair for the meeting this morning. Could I have any nominations, please?
I'll nominate Councillor John Thomas.
Okay, and do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay. Looks like it's unanimous, Chair. Congratulations, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you very much for the nomination, and thank you, Mark, for the introductions. Can I just say, before we go any further, this meeting is being live streamed and it's also being recorded for future archive use. So there are people actually able to watch this meeting as it's taking place this morning. As you heard, I'm Councillor John Thomas. I'm chairman of the Licensing Committee on the Vale of Glamorgan, but also been appointed chairman of this subcommittee this morning. The other two members of the committee are Councillor Pamela Drake and Councillor Rachel Nugent-Finn. So if I could ask everyone else to introduce themselves, please. Can we go to the applicants first?
Yeah, Ranjit Singh.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Singh.
Mr. Panchal from Personal License Courses. I'll be representing Mr. Singh at the hearing.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Panchal. And the police officers?
Good morning, thank you, Chair. Scott McCarthy, South Wales Police Licensing for Cardiff and the Vale. Also present with me is my colleague Tony Bowley and Sergeant Justin Hardwick. However, it's not envisioned that they will speak. I will be presenting for police this morning.
Good morning, Chair. My name's Stephen Powell, Community Officer for Barry Island.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. And our officers who are present, I think we have the legal officer and the licensing officer. If they'd just like to introduce themselves.
Yes, good morning, Chair. My name is Richard Price and I'm the legal advisor to the committee this morning.
Thank you, Chair. It's Yvonne Witchell, the team manager for licensing.
Okay, thanks very much. So moving on through the agenda, are there any declarations of interest? At this stage, I hope not. Okay, thank you very much. And we're here to hear the application under the Licensing Act 2003 an application for the grant of a premises licence for Seaview Convenience Store, Unit 1, Esplanade Buildings, Friars Road, Barry, CF62 5TJ. Can I ask Yvonne, the licensing officer, to take us through the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to run through the report and just check, first of all, that everybody has copies of the documents that have been circulated so far. So we have a committee report with the application from Mr. Singh, a number of background documents submitted by the South Wales Police, the actual representations themselves, and the representations received from interested parties, the members of the public, together with some supporting background. And since then, the South Wales Police have served a bundle of documents of additional evidence in the form of photographs, statements, and a copy section 35 order and a press release. That was the first bundle. And then the second document circulated for consideration and inclusion this morning was a witness statement from British Transport Police. I wonder if I could ask Mr. Panchal just to confirm that he's had sight of these documents and an opportunity to consider them.
Mr. Panchal?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have I've seen some of the documents and I've read through the documents. I'm happy to accept them to the committee.
Okay, thank you. Chair, as far as I'm aware, members have all had copies, and at this point, no other there's no request to the subcommittee to introduce any other documentation into this meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay, thank you. In that case, as the chair has outlined, this is an application for the grant of a premises licence. The reason it's before the subcommittee is that representations have been received and have not been withdrawn, and therefore a full hearing of this matter is required. Within the report, we set out the background to this particular application. It is the grant of a new premises licence, although there is one in force for the reasons we set out within the report, but it is within the powers of the Licensing Act to consider the grant of a new application this morning. The first set of information that you have then relates to how the application came about. Mr. Singh had opened a premises selling alcohol and received relevant advice as to the correct type of licence that he should apply for. The application has been advertised in accordance with the regulations, and that resulted in representations from the South Wales Police and 9 valid representations from other persons, residents in this case. And these were the only representations received during the period of the formal statutory consultation. You have a copy of the application within your report, and within that are further steps that the applicant has offered to promote the licensing objectives. The South Wales Police obviously have submitted representations, and they will make a presentation to you in due course to cover their initial representations and the supplementary information submitted to you. Within your bundle is also a plan of the premises, and unless there are any questions on the application process so far, Chair, that's the report and application that we have before you, and obviously both parties will make their presentations in due course.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. Is everybody clear what Yvonne has outlined to us? Okay. Thank you very much. So if we go then to, I believe, Mr. Panchal, you said you are going to be representing Mr. Singh. So would you like to make your case to the committee?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I'm going to be short and sweet. I do understand I've had a lot of documents come through. I do understand why we are here today. and then the concerns shown by the police and everybody. I'd just like to make one thing very clear, that my client has always been cooperative, has always been within the region, and he's obtained his personal license. He does have the knowledge of the area, having a fish and chip shop also next door, which is for the last 5 years. He has had no problems running that fish and chip shop. He also has no problem when he was running the Seaview Cafe, which was licensed for on-sales alcohol, I gather. He did approach us when the police approached him regarding the change of use that he wanted to make into an off license rather than an on license. Again, I also make it very clear that this is a seasonal trade in the area there, which we have been told from their knowledge. And there are no breaches. We do understand that it is a PSPO area recently by the committee in the licensing policy. But what we're asking the committee today to look at some of the points onto the guidance that every premises has to be onto its own merit. And Mr. Singh has run the area. It's very important to note that he has had no breaches for the last 5 years, even when he had an on license in the area. And I'm looking at a few of the guidance points like 8.41, the council has put down the 8.42. I would also like to mention, to look at the point 841 and 843 of the guidance. And that's I expect to include positive proposals in their application on how they will manage any potential risk. Now, the potential risk that we are looking at here from the objections that we've looked at from the police and the local residents is how would we obtain to make sure that those objections can be resolved. We're requesting the committee today that we will make sure there will be no glass bottles utilized in beer and that. So the premises will not have any glass bottles stocked during its licensable activity. The other thing that we are also suggesting to the committee, that we would also put a condition which no miniatures will be sold. So there will be no miniatures of alcohol to be sold on the premises. There will be no single cans. So we will not be selling any single cans. The cans we will be selling will be in 2s and 4s, which normal circumstances from my point of view, normally the street drinkers and people who cause problems, they normally buy single cans, and it stops them when they have to buy 4 cans of alcohol. We are also proposing, although we proposed that the hours of opening would be up to 11 o'clock, we're proposing to the committee today to amend that and bring the hours down to during summer times at 10 o'clock. And we're saying in winter times, although the shop does not open a lot in winter times due to is a seasonal trade, as I said earlier, will be 8 o'clock. The shop will close at 8 o'clock during the winter times. Ma'am, sorry, Chair, I keep saying ma'am, but sorry, Chair, we have a few ladies here, so I keep saying ma'am and respecting the ladies who are in the committee today. I'm looking at 4.12 of the guidance. Statements of body should make clear that we're regulating license fees by qualifying clubs and temporary events. Condition attached to various authorization will be focused on matters which are within the control of the individual license holders and others with relevant authorization. So these conditions that we are proposing can be conducted and will not affect the financial side of the matter. So we feel at this very moment that if such conditions and such layouts are put in, and the experience that Mr. Singh has of the area and the cooperation that he always shows to the licensing authorities, he is capable of running the place in a safer and better area, better times. That's what we are proposing to the committee, and we feel that the license be granted. Ma'am, I'll come. Sorry, Chair, I'll come back during my presentations to say more once I've heard what we've proposed does help the licensing authority to or yourself. So we will be happy to take any questions regarding the grant of the license that we are expecting today.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Panchal at this present time? Obviously, the police officers and the other persons are able to make their representations, and then we'll be coming back to summing up. So Mr. Panchal will be able to pick up anything else there. So if there's no...
Yes, Chair, if I may.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Panchal, I've got a few questions if you could. I was wondering what has prompted your client to obtain the license for the Coffee Cove, which is formerly a cafe and bar, and turn it into the off-license and convenience store that sits there now?
From the knowledge we have from the client, the Coffee Cove bar wasn't financially getting viable in the area, and during the COVID period, and that Mr. Singh did play a lot of part in supplying goods to his people that he knew around the area, having stayed in 5 years, and thought that the off license, or shall we say a grocery shop, would be much more viable, knowing the people around the area and serving the people during the COVID period would help him more. Because as you know, that during the lockdown, people were not allowed to come into the coffee house or sit there. So he did supply and did play a part in the community by supplying goods to the local people.
No. Sorry, Chair. I think Mr. Panchal got it wrong. We had the fish and chips, not the Cove. He had a mix-up. So Cove we just took over this year. Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we heard that. Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Panchal got mixed up with the fish and chips business and the Cove with something. We just took over the Cove this year. So we're running the fish and chips from the last 5 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Singh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
If I may continue.
Yeah.
Mr. Panchal, obviously you say Mr. Singh has had the chip shop on the seafront for a period of 5 years. I'm wondering, was any additional research done by yourself or Mr. Singh regarding local issues in the area ahead of submitting the application to the responsible authority? Local authority, sorry.
Chair, I'll again ask Mr. Singh to answer that question. We did look at the area, and we did look at the thing before we put the application in, but Mr. Singh played a major part in looking at the area, having stayed there for 5 years. So I'll ask Mr. Singh if he has to say a few things on it.
Hi, yeah. We didn't research anything about the license, about the, regarding the alcohol, but we were running the fish and chips from the last 5 years. We never had any trouble with that one, but we never had time to research about, it is my first business about, alcohol off license. So yeah, we didn't do any research about the alcohol in the area situation, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Singh, for the answer. It does, excuse me. It does lead me on to another question regarding your understanding of the public space protection order that's in place for Barry Island. Are you aware of it and what it entails?
No, we didn't aware of that one before this thing happened. We just took over the business, so yeah, we were not aware of the regulation of that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have no more questions, Tony. Thank you, Chair. I have no more questions at this time.
Okay. Are there any questions from members? Rachel?
Thanks, Chair. Mr. Panchal, thanks very much for the presentation. You stated that you won't be selling alcohol in bottles, but looking at some of the photographic evidence, there does appear to be bottles stocked, obviously in whatever you want to call it, preparation or stock. I'm not sure. Perhaps could you just explain that for me, Mr. Panchal?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we did explain to the client regarding the PSPO in the area, and although he didn't understand then when the application was put in, and we made him understand that because there is a problem in the area, hence to resolve that problem, it will be better if we did not stock any glass bottles. So, ma'am, if the license is granted today, that will be the next condition that they will be putting up.
Understand. Thank you very much for the answer.
Can I just ask for some clarification on that? When you say no glass bottles, are you talking about just beer and lager bottles, or are you not going to sell spirits in glass bottles either?
That will be beers and ciders.
Okay. Right. Okay, well, if there's no further
for clarification, there will be an element of alcohol and soft drinks being sold in glass bottles.
I'm sure we could we could work with the client and make sure that the majority of the bottles are not there. Glass bottles are avoided. If there were cans of Coke to be put up, it will be more concentration on the cans of Coke rather than bottles of Coke.
So the condition wouldn't be a blanket ban on the sale of any drink in glass.
Well, I'm suggesting the condition to be no glass bottles for beers and wine and ciders.
I don't know how that would be enforceable based on how you've proposed the current condition.
From my experience, comparing to other premises, like for instance, we have premises that we deal with near the Wembley Stadium, and during the match periods, the shopkeepers are not allowed to stock any glass bottles. So in other words, they sell cans of beer and ciders. Glass bottles are not stocked during the match period, match times. So they don't stock those. And that avoids people getting into trouble, because most of the people coming to watch games or on the beaches or that tend to buy bottles of beers and that. So we do have conditions laid up for a lot of premises.
Richard,
Can you specifically clarify what you would propose the condition to be in relation to glass for this premises, just so I'm clear?
I'm making it absolutely clear by saying there will be no glass bottles of beers and ciders to be stocked at the premises from the word go. If the license was granted, there will be no bottles of beers and ciders to be stocked at the premises.
Thank you.
If committee, I can. Sorry, we're not gonna stock any spirit glasses as well, neither soft drinks, because most of the soft drinks are bottled with the plastic bottles. There is no glass bottles, any soft drinks or anything. We will absolutely no glass in the premises.
That clarifies more better than my suggestion from what Mr. Singh says.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Just carrying on from what Richard Price was just querying, would that extend through to wine bottles as well? And Prosecco and the like?
Yes.
It would it? So there'd be no glass at all, and any alcohol will be sold in cans?
No soft glass, no, only cans, and yeah, only soft drinks in plastic bottles.
Yes.
no spirit at all. We're not going to keep any spirits. That's going to be glass in the premises.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, if there's no further questions, then we come on to the responsible authorities. And Lisa McCarthy, would you like to give us your evidence?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Members of the committee, myself, I've been in this role for 2 years now, and in that period I've overseen in the region of 25 to 30 applications for various premises, and this is the first time I've had the large and outright objection. You have before you an application for a premise licence at Seaview Stores on Friars Road. As I just said, South Wales Police object outright to grant this application under the following licence objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The applicant has applied for the premise licence originally to operate from 8 AM until 11 PM, 7 days a week for off sales only. And that would be for a 12-month period. That isn't a time limited licence. The area in which the off licence seeks to be located already sees alcohol related issues in terms of crime, disorder, antisocial behaviour, particularly through the spring and summer months. Adding an off licence and thus making alcohol more readily available would significantly undermine the licence objectives and would likely lead to increased demand on the local policing teams. Prior to submitting our representations, a cursory search of the South Wales Police systems showed that following a number of alcohol-related incidents report that selected areas around Barry Island since the 1st of January 2019 up until September this year. The reason I went back so far into 2019 was to account for the large period of closures that businesses had during the summer of 2020 due to COVID restrictions in place. At the promenade, there were 34 reported incidents. Friars Road, which is the location of this particular premise, there were 32 recorded incidents. There were 42 on Paget Road. Station Approach Road, there were 10. And there were 2 at the actual railway station. However, those 2 were reported to South Wales Police. British Transport Police have the authority and oversight for the rail network and the rail stations. So it's highly likely that they would have had more reported to them. Furthermore, the area has a newly issued Public Space Protection Order, or PSPO, which was introduced by the Vale of Morgan Council in 2020. The PSPO being introduced was an effort to tackle the alcohol-related antisocial behaviour and disorder that had been occurring at the locality. This is the second time a PSPO, or Public Space Protection Order, has been installed for Barry Island, with the original first being in place, I believe, was 2017, and being discussed in 2016. If I can take you through the application submitted by the applicants. I'll give you a moment to find that. We can see in section 5, which is page 6 of the application, the operating schedule, apologies. It is the operating schedule. It asks for the example of type of premises. The applicant has filled this section in, stating it's an off-licence and convenience store. To me, that would suggest that the primary use is that of an off-licence to supply the alcohol to the local area, with a convenience store being supplementary. Heading to section 15, which is page 7, sets out the operating hours, as I previously mentioned. 8 AM until 11 p.m, 7 days a week. That's 105 business hours per week where persons would be able to attend and purchase an unlimited quantity of alcohol. Moving on to section 18, page 11, where the applicant can put forward conditions they feel promote the licensing objectives. And they are noted, but there are a number of conditions ordinarily we would look to have included on a new license. But in this instance, we feel that these conditions would be classed as the bare minimum that we would look for. They've offered a CCTV condition. They've offered an incident logbook to be maintained at the premises, which would detail incidents of note that occur. They have offered for staff training. Again, that's something we'd like to see at any licensed premise on any new license. An age verification policy has also been offered, a Challenge 25, which is a national standard. Again, what we feel would be one of the bare minimums. On reviewing the application, we didn't feel there was anything put forward that would address our concerns of the alcohol being readily available on Barry Island, where there are already alcohol-related issues. And through discussions on the team, we tried to see would there be any conditions that would be appropriate and proportionate to propose. But it was felt that there were no conditions appropriate and proportionate to the application that would address our concerns, which is why we've gone for the outright objection in these rare incidents. As I progress through the file of evidence, I'll direct you to certain documents and give you a moment to find them. If I am going too fast, please just tell me to slow down. Don't want to lose anybody. There is a plan submitted by the applicant, which you should have in front of you. If you have a look at that plan, you can see there are grocery shelves in the middle of the store. As we progress through the evidence, I'll refer back to this when we review the pictures and ask you to come to your own conclusions. Does the plan match up with how the premise was operating when visited by Steve Powell back in July? Your moment. Item 6 in the police evidence bundle is a statement completed by Sergeant Natalie Harris. She's a community safety sergeant, has been in the post, I believe, since 2016. She had previous dealings with the original PSPO that had been brought together, and through partnership working with the council, it was put into place. I don't propose to read the statement verbatim. I am mindful that there are others to follow me. I don't want to monopolise the time. There are a couple of key points which I will take from the statement. In paragraph 1, line 4, Sergeant Harris states, historically, without the PSPO or previous designated public space order, on busy summer days, the area was a no-go for families due to drunken and antisocial often violent behaviour fueled by the consumption of alcohol being an issue. That is the viewpoint of a professional police officer and someone that frequents the island in a personal life outside of work. Moving on to paragraph 3, the first 3 lines. Since restrictive orders have been in place, bear with me, sorry, read that for me. Have my colleague Tony Stewart read this for me.
Yes, since restrictive orders have been in place, negative behaviour has significantly reduced in the summer of 2021.
Can I just stop? Could you try and move a bit closer to the microphone, please? Difficulty hearing.
Yep. Sorry, Chair. The Sergeant says, since restrictive orders have been in place, negative behaviour has significantly reduced in the summer of 2021 due to the hard work of officers and staff at a multi-agency level, which included the enforcement of the PSPO. There's been a further 45% decrease in antisocial behaviour compared to the previous year.
That 45% decrease that Sergeant Harris alludes to in her statement was a result of large-scale planned policing operation. It's been publicised in media and required over 1,000 extra hours of policing in coastal areas that have been subject to ASB, antisocial behaviour, violence and disorder last year. Is that something that could be sustainable? I would ask the committee to bear that in mind towards the end of this hearing today when deciding the outcome of this application. If I could take you on now to item 7, it's a statement provided by Neighbourhood Beat Manager PC Powell. Again, I won't read the entire statement, but just excerpts from it. Let's have line 4, paragraph 1. It sets out Steve's role. He's being responsible for any community issues that arise within the Barrack ward, which includes Barry Island. I'm sure we'll speak to Steve later. He can clarify his role and how much of his time is spent at the actual island as opposed to the ward as a whole. Steve is responsible for operational orders as per paragraph 2 of the summer operations at Barry Island, where extra resources are provided to police the area due to the large amount of visitors it attracts. Barry Island has always been a family resort, and we wish for it to remain a family resort, attracting families, friends and groups to enjoy the area, particularly through the summer months. Again, in paragraph 2, as Steve states that the area has always had an issue with youths bringing alcohol to the area, and previous operations have included tackling intoxicated youths. As I progress later on, I have some video footage that I'm hoping to show, which will show the type of behaviour that Steve is alluding to. Okay. On to page 2 of PC Powell's statement, in totally paragraph 4. I'll hand over to Tony again. Sorry, Tom. Just going to read that bit.
Yes, Steve says, last year during COVID-19 restrictions at licensed premises, there's seen a large increase of off sales of alcohol being consumed on the beach and promenade. The readily available alcohol away from licensed premises has felt as a strain on our resources and attempting to adhere to the PSPO, and that of the council collecting a disgusting amount of strewn alcohol vessels. The national news described Barry Island as Wales's largest beer garden.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony. Okay. Apologies for that. On the index sheet now for the police evidence bundle, items 8 through 16 are a series of images taken by PC Powell. Image reference SP1, 1, 2 and 3 show a selection of the alcohol that was seized from youths at Barry Island last year. Now, we're not talking an odd can here, an odd case. We're talking vast quantities of bottled beers, canned beers, ciders, all being seized from youths. This is before an off license was open and operating in the area. the person's bringing this of their own volition from wherever they come from to enjoy on the beach, which leads to the issues we see. Images SP2A through F were taken on the 28th of July this year, when PC Powell and his colleague were on patrol on Barry Island and saw the Sea View stores opening. If you can look at SP2A, I think you would agree that that is wholesale alcohol sales. I've tried to count how many cases of Carling are in the picture, but I can't extrapolate how many may be there. I'm minded that Mr. Panchal has offered they'll be selling in packs of 2 and 4. However, if you look through these images, you can see that that's not always the case. And to me, I would suggest is a small warehouse level stock, stacks of Carling that high. Having previously worked in the retail sector for a large multinational chain, I never stocked alcohol that high. Looking at that picture, SP2A takes me back to the plan that I referenced earlier. The plan would suggest the grocery shelves run down the middle of the store, taking a large portion of it. However, a significant amount of floor space, as you can see, is given over to display for sale of multi-packs of alcohol. I believe the pictures speak for themselves. If you click through SP2B and C, refrigerated multi-packs ready to go. And likewise with SP2D and E. This is a significant offering of alcohol in an area where crime and disorder already occurs. Who was the Democratic Services provider?
Sorry?
Chair, I have some video footage I'd like to try and share with the committee. I was informed that Democratic Services would give you permission to share my screen.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. Yeah, you should be able to share. It should be on top of your screen on Teams. You should have an option there, like a square with an arrow, which gives you share content.
Right, open share tray. Share there. I can ask members to bear with me while I sort this out.
Hopefully that should come up shortly.
No. No, the only thing that shares my entire screen. Okay. Bear with me.
Yeah, it'll share. If you've got several screens, you can choose a screen you want to share.
Yeah, so I've got Microsoft. Yeah, if you bear with me, if I sign into the meeting via a mobile device, and relay the footage back that way. Bear with me, I'll be right with you. Thank you for your patience.
Sorry, Chair, this pictures or video that we are looking at must have been shared with you before, prior to this meeting, and you must have seen it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Richard, could we have your advice, please?
Chair, I've not seen this prior to the meeting. I was advised that it was going to be shared at the meeting by South Wales Police.
So is that acceptable? If it hasn't been shared with the applicants?
Do you have any objection to this being shown? And if so, can you outline the reasons why?
I have no objection of seeing it, but my view is that everybody has seen it, or I have seen it, and if the committee has seen it, do we want to see it again?
Oh, I've not seen it, so I think it's important that everybody sees it at this point, especially if it's going to form any basis of any decision.
Yeah, I've got no problems with that.
Okay,
And if
thank you.
nobody sees it because we're unable to share it, then, you know, nobody's prejudiced in that regard, in my view.
How are we doing, PC McCarthy? Are we making progress?
Yes, we are just relying on technology. Thank you, Councillor.
I think PC Powell has his hand up, Chair.
Yeah, Chair, if I could just add to PC McCarthy's video there. I don't know if it assists anybody on the group, but the actual footage was uploaded onto YouTube by a member of the public. And if the sort of committee type into YouTube, Barry Island fight, it is the first one that comes up on the YouTube system. I don't know if that helps PC McCarthy at all.
Chair, my concern obviously is, you know, this evidence needs to be presented for everybody to see. You know, I wouldn't want members to be able to see that and certain members not be able to see that. So perhaps we could try and get around the technical difficulty and present that nearer the end.
Chair, if I may. Great. Chair? I have lost the recording, you know.
I can hear you, Scott, but I can't hear anybody else.
Thanks, Steve.
I'm in the lobby.
Good morning, Chair. Yeah.
Members of the committee, am I coming through clear enough?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you, Scott.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I think someone might have this microphone on, is causing a bit of echo.
Okay, if everybody is okay, I believe we may have this sorted now. I will bring the footage up, which is a series of clips, all recorded by police officers' body-worn video. I can talk to them as we progress. As they are body-worn video footage, they are live recordings of incidents. All verbals can be heard, so I apologise in advance for any colourful or offensive language you may hear. Chair, with your permission, I'll go with
Yes,
these
please.
videos.
Yep.
I'll cut off this one now, and we'll talk through Justin Hardwick's meeting.
Sorry, Chair. Councillor Nugent-Finn's just said that there's no footage apparently coming through. I can see obviously the screen. Is everyone having problems seeing the footage?
I can see the screen and see the pictures. I can't. There's no sound with it, but
Yeah, likewise. I can see it's a bit blurry on occasions, but there's no sound.
Chair, I don't have any footage whatsoever. It's just an extremely blurred screen and no sound.
The only thing I can, I think is Justin is on mute at the moment. So I'm not sure. The other option, Chair, would be I'd have to find the stream on YouTube and share it through my screen. That might be a solution.
I'm not sure that this is the same thing that is on YouTube, is it? If this is police body camera.
Okay.
That's correct, Chair. Yeah, so we
Apologies,
don't have
Chair.
that option.
Right. Bear with me. If I can just quickly press play, can I have some yes or no's whether you can hear this footage, please, members of the committee?
No, you wanted me to. I've never met you before. I don't know if it's
Yes, you can hear it now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's that.
I still can't see anything though.
Is everybody else able to see the footage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, apologise for that. That was my fingers. I left it on mute, so I'm trying to show you footage without sound.
So, Councillor Nugent-Finn, can you see the footage?
No, I've got absolutely no visual whatsoever. I'm just looking at a screen, which is, as I said, it's just a complete blur.
Okay.
Can you see the rest of us, Rachel?
I can, Chair, yes, very clearly. It's quite odd, isn't it?
I can't see how we can see it and you can't. It doesn't. But then I don't understand this sort of technology.
Yeah, I'm looking at, it is just like a set of lines. So I can see Councillor Drake, I can see Mr. Panchal, and I can see yourself, but there's no visual with regards to South Wales Police screen.
Can you see Justin Hardwick? So it would be a JH.
I can see the name very clearly, Justin Hardwick.
Perhaps if you
South
click
Wales
on that.
Police. Nothing, sorry.
That is odd. I can also see it as well. What I could suggest, Chair, it might be possible if everyone turns their cameras off, except obviously for Justin, to see if that improves it.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. I think I know what it is. Rachel, if you click on Justin Hardwick, you need to pin Justin.
I've done that, Stefan. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've done that. That's okay. Thank you, Stefan. I'll try turning off the camera.
Yeah, see if that helps now, Councillor. Is any improvement?
Yes, I've got visual.
Great, fantastic.
Thank you very much, all.
Okay, thank you, members of the committee, for bearing with us.
No problem.
The footage on the screen at the moment, as I was saying a few moments ago, was a call to police regarding youths causing issues on Friars Point. Of note are these 3 of these 4 individuals on screen at the moment. If you can listen to the verbals, it will give you an idea of the attitude towards police when trying to deal with a simple nuisance call. And as you'll see later on, as this progresses, we see these 3 individuals again.
That's all you know. No, I don't know me. I don't know me. What's your date of birth? Why do you need my date of birth? Because I tried to identify, you give me the right. You no legal reason to ask my date of birth. Yeah, but I have social behaviour, mate. That's all it's over. For what? For what? Basically, my colleague was explaining to me, wasn't she? Yeah, but for what? We're having disorder on the beach, right? And you're all coming up here, okay? What I'm saying to you is, right, is that whether you're part of that group or not, now, okay, everybody was seen to come up.
Moving on to another clip now. It's clip number 3. You should instantly recognise the green Helly Hansen t-shirt. Please listen to the first engagement from the police sergeant and her words.
Stop swearing. Again, true. You were put on a train and you come back here, so you clearly didn't listen to the rule, did you? On the train.
As she states there, you were put on a train and you've come back here. You clearly didn't listen to the rule. This is 2 hours later after the original call on the island. I'll let this one run through and you will see this male makes off from police up the walkway on screen now.
Right, Steve, I put all these on the train earlier. 1-0 for PSU serial. Can you make your way back to the island, please?
The request the PSU serial there is our support team, what some people would often refer to as the riot van, the police with shields. The sergeant felt it necessary to pull that level of officers back to the island to deal with the issues. I will let the next clip play now without over talking. There is some silence by the way the body-worn videos initially record. The sound will be with you momentarily.
Little faggot. You fucking faggot. Honest to God. Oh, fuck on you. How old are you? All right, I wouldn't fucking not. That's right. Look at how it is. What are you touching me for? Get the car, mate. Right, tapping me for some fucking. I'm gonna fucking kill him. I'm gonna kill him, you little faggot. Come on, you little faggot. I'm gonna kill him. Fucking kill him.
I don't think I need to say much about that particular individual. I will move on now to the next one, which is yet again another individual from Friars Point. This particular individual had been told to leave the island several times by a colleague of PC Power on the day, who's clearly intoxicated. I believe he'd even had cans of alcohol taken from him on the promenade when he was told to leave and go and get a train home, but he simply refused and kept returning.
Right, one cup on this one. Big cans. Right. Right, I've got a cup on his left arm. Put him on the floor. Go back. Right, get your arm back. Fuck off. Oh, it's normal. It's very fast. Yeah, mate, 3%. That's me. Yeah.
I've added this little clip in here. It's a few moments before the one you just saw, but I draw your attention to the right-hand side of the screen. The family heading down the ramp where the police van was parked. It's a shame I've had to redact the footage is the face on the elderly lady in the wheelchair paints 1,000 words. Unfortunately, the redaction has taken that away. It just shows the male's behaviour in front of members of the public. The sound will return shortly.
Cameras on. You fucking pig cunt. Right. Go on, go on. Right, I've got a cuff on his left arm. Put him over. Get him on the floor. Put him down backwards. Right, get your arm against back. Oh, fuck off. Oh, it's all right.
Again, I'll take a moment just to apologise for the colourful and fruity language that's aimed towards my colleagues in uniform. That those clips you've just witnessed were all on the same day back in 2020. We're going to move on now to July last year in an incident that actually made not only the local press but national press. The Mirror reported on this with the level of disorder involved. I will let this one run. What you will see here is a vast number of youths confronting officers, and officers felt necessary to draw their batons as a show of strength. Again, this started as a call to police of intoxicated youths fighting on the beach in prom. You can see the number of people on the prom there, and there were 2 officers initially deployed to that to try and deal with the incident. A few minutes later, the crowd had moved up onto Friars Road, and the footage you're going to see now is outside the Coffee Cove, or the former Coffee Cove site, and the adjoining amusement arcade. That's not a comfortable situation for any officer to be in. As you can see, there were far more youths and individuals than there were officers at that time. Within your evidence bundle, you will have redacted copies of the police occurrence reports. The full reports that I have do list intoxication and drunken disorderly arrests as part of this disorder. I will play the next clip. Sorry, just before I play on, please listen to the words of the officer that come momentarily.
We got another one. For God's sake.
pause that one there. That individual was arrested for drunk and disorderly behaviour. The officer stated how he was clearly intoxicated, and as you can tell by his demeanour and the way he reacted to being arrested, it was all a game. There was no seriousness there. He was playing it for the crowd. The next clip I'm going to show, well, so not go against. Those are the wrong words. What you've seen so far is the individuals the police have to deal with on the island. The next clip will show you some of the fallout that police don't always see. The officer is approached by the mother of a child because damage is caused to his car. I'll play the clip and let you see. Wrong one.
Scratched it all, he's thrown his eyes out, and no one's even said he laugh all the time. I was laughing. Oh, he's going easy spending an eye himself. This for your boy here, is it? Thanks. Hey, buddy. What's your name? Hi, Lucas. My name's Mo. I'm a policeman. The bad man did scratch your car, didn't he? But don't worry, he's coming with us now. He's going to get arrested, because that's what happens to bad men. All right, I'm sorry about your car. It's a very nice car. Okay. I'm going to have a quick chat with your mummy. We'll find out what's happened there. But are you okay? You sure? No, you're a brave man, Lucas. You want to be one of them. Good man. It's tarnished. It looks like they've all come down full of Merthyr and Aberdare for a scrap by the looks of it. So. Yeah, I was standing right there. When literally just fell off him, walked off started laughing. He's all right, though, is he? Yeah, he's all right. You're a brave.
Fell on top of him, walked off, started laughing. Barry Island is a family-friendly location, and that's what local businesses want to attract. Families out for a nice day, not groups of youths coming down looking for trouble, looking for a drink, be it cans, bottles, spirits, wines. Those were from last year. I am mindful of the time. I don't want to monopolise the meeting. Just two more clips to show you from this year to say these incidents, although lesser, do still happen. They are still occurring before an off license opens in the location. This next clip is actually on the beach.
Right, come on, guys, get your stuff and let's get going. Get your stuff and let's get going. Right, put that back in your trousers now. Put it back in your trousers. Evan! Evan, if you don't put it back, you knock off. Evan! I can't fucking control it in a minute. Oh, you know what it's like. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to tell it off. Come here. Come here. Come here. No. I know what it's like. Right. No, we're arrested. He's still arrested. No, he's right. Go. Go or arrest the pair of you. I'm taking him home. I'm taking him home. I'm taking him home. Don't tell me what I'm doing or what I'm not doing. I've done nothing. Urinating in a public place. That is not. Don't arrest him. We'll take him all down. I'm busting, sir. What's your name? Mason. Don't. No, don't. You need to put cuffs on him, isn't it? So.
I won't play all that one through. That one runs on for a couple of minutes. But once again, drunk youth, this time on the beach, urinating in public. And hopefully you saw that on the rocks there were at least 2 boxes of beer or cider. Couldn't make up the brand from the footage. It's similar to what the officers experienced through the other clips I've shown you here this morning. The last clip to show is.
And what's your address, mate? 46 Oh, What is it, Chris? Yo, what are you doing? Oh! No, I'll relax. Please, spin round, Hammy. Spin round. Don't want to be spin round for me. Put your hands behind your back. What are you doing? I'm not doing anything. Put your hands behind your back. I'm not punching a wall. I'm spinning. I'm not doing any odds. I'm getting back off. No, stay there. Stay there. Stay there. Stay there. Chill out. Recording. Relax. Look, you're getting recorded. Put my head on. He's done. Relax. It's allowed. It's allowed. Relax.
Once again, that was an intoxicated youth. Following reports of 20 to 30 youths fighting in the area of Barry Island. That is the end of the video clips I have to show. I thank you for your patience with those.
Chair, can I ask a couple of questions, PC McCarthy? Chair?
Who's
Vince Driscoll, Councillor Driscoll.
no, sorry, you can't, Councillor Driscoll.
Okay, no problem.
You're not a member of the committee. You're only able to observe.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Right. So mindful of the time, I won't propose to go through all the police incidents. Those are there for your members' perusal. You saw in the footage there, the large-scale disorder. Item 18 of the police index of evidence is a series of media reports from around the 22nd of July. Not only does it relate to the violence and the antisocial behaviour and drunken behaviour of those persons involved, but on media item 3, I believe, the title is "Businesses Angry and Disappointed After Outbreak of Disorder on Barry Island." It's not just the police and those involved that get affected by this sort of drunken behaviour. It's everybody in the area. Those legitimate businesses, such as Mr. Singh's food outlet and other food outlets in the area, will all be affected negatively by this sort of antisocial behaviour and disorder. Flipping through the media items that you have there, I think it's item 6 is a front page of the South Wales Echo on the 24th of July. Headline article, "Island Strife," and a picture of crowds gathered that's near to Finnegan's pub and the island. And the footage you saw moments ago of the officer saying, "Oh, another one," is from that same day, and that's the crowd he was dealing with. As a result of the disorder that day, a Section 35 order was put in place. It's Section 35 of the Antisocial Behaviour, Crime and Policing Act 2014. And that order gives uniformed police officers the power to exclude a person from an area for a period of up to 48 hours. And item 19 shows in red outlined map the area where this order was in place, where it was enforceable. Because the disorder experienced, it wasn't just the beach and the prom, but it was Friars Point, across the beach to Nell's Point, across Jackson's Bay, round Clive Road. Essentially all of the island was covered by this order as a means to alleviate the issues that police on the ground were dealing with. Right. That will bring the end to the police evidence this morning. I thank you for your time in listening and bearing with us while we sorted the video problems out.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Are there any questions for Mr. McCarthy?
I have one question, please, Chair.
Yeah, Rachel.
Thanks very much for all the evidence. I can see that, there's been tremendous sort of work and everything put into that for us to examine exactly what, needs to be looked at here. Do you know if there was any fines issued by South Wales Police during these ignore the footage?
Were there any fines issued? Do you mean in regards of the COVID legislation in place at the time?
Well, just generally, really.
I don't have that information to hand.
Okay.
The clips I went through were arrests for drunken disorder and youth involvement.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Panchal, do you have any questions?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much. A quick question to Mr. Scott. Did you then manage to get through with the local businesses and chat down what help they could give you? I understand you've gone through. I appreciate what you are going through there, but did you get along with the local businesses to see what they could do to help you out in this? Or there are 2 shops there nearby who are selling alcohol, if I'm not mistaken. But did you get in touch with Mr. Singh is also there for the last 5 years in his food business. Were there any one of them involved into any pub watch or local retail watch which could be helpful to you?
The pub watch for the local Barry area doesn't extend to off licenses. It's for the pubs, bars and the nightclubs, want a better word. For those unlicensed premises. Answering the first point you raised, did they offer anything at the time? They weren't approached at that time. The officers there on the ground were dealing with the disorder, and we looked to see if there were issues that we would deal with from a licensing perspective. The feedback we had and reading through the reports is these aren't youths walking around with an open top container at £5 a pint from one of the bars that has an off license. They were drinking bottles and cans which they brought on the beach. As you saw in the videos, there were multi-packs. So they didn't lead us to any particular premise to take action against. Does that answer your question, Mr. Panchal?
So in other words, my question was, this alcohol that they brought on the beaches has nothing to do with the local shops, means they weren't bought it from that shops from your point of view, which you are now saying to us. And B, so you didn't approach them in making some progress.
There's no off licenses needed to the beach for us to approach.
There is a close by a shop, Mr. Singh's related. There are 2 shops. If you are aware of, I don't know. You must be, because it's your area.
I'm aware of the shops you're referring to. They're approximately a 10, 11-minute walk from the beach, predominantly uphill. They've been, I've been a police officer for 13 years now. 11 of those was in uniform in Barry, and they've been there longer than I've been an officer. And I've never known them feed into any of the disorder on Barry Island.
Okay, and none of this alcohol that you're looking at, Mr. Singh wasn't selling alcohol at that particular time because there was no license.
No. I'm not suggesting that Mr. Singh was selling at that time. Not at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all. Thanks, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Does PC Powell wish to address members?
Apologies, Chair. My computer says that my computer is about to restart in 2 minutes. So if any other members would like to speak at this stage, and I'll try and get my computer working as soon as it shuts down shortly.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll move on then to other persons. I don't believe there are any other persons present, but Councillor William, the ward member for Barrack, which covers Barry Island, I think is going to speak on behalf of some of the local members who have written in.
Many thanks, Chair. Yes, well, as a local resident and also the councillor for the Barrack ward, I would like to speak on behalf of the residents who've also submitted written statements of objection. I've also been approached by concerned citizens of the entire town in my capacity as Mayor of Barry. I find that the application is both antisocial and dangerous, and it breaches the 4 criteria that have been mentioned previously, and so I object on all of them: the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and of course harm to children, or rather protection of children from harm. Having masses of alcohol easily available will just make the work of the police so much more difficult. It'll also add to the litter problem on Whitmore Bay and the associated worst behaviour which we've just witnessed now. It also make the lives of council workers and visitors unpleasant as well, and undo the more than 20 years of work that we've put in place to improve the island as a family-friendly resort. And I managed to get resort wardens in place back more than 20 years ago, and also an alcohol ban there. Now, the alcohol ban I secured more than 2 decades ago was in response to existing problems on the island. And now, of course, you've heard of the PSPOs that have been put in place since then to try and alleviate this problem. Now, they've been very effectively enforced by the local police. And I believe that granting a licence to Seaview would place a further strain on their ability to keep this in check and on top of the situation. We've seen the footage, and this is what it's like now. I think other establishments that have been mentioned, such as Enzo's and Rumbar, they allow drinking outside, but within the curtilage of the building, and therefore scrutinised by things like pub watch. This would be the only off-licence only on the tourist part of the island. And there's a good reason why this shouldn't become the only one. It's much cheaper for people to bring their multi-packs rather than drink in on-licensed premises. And so having an off-licence nearby, right on the front, will just exacerbate the problem. And to set the record straight, the 2 shops that Mr. Panchal refers to are not nearby, as has been mentioned. They're a long way away from the beach. They're in the residential part of the island. They're uphill, and as was said, they're 10 to 15 minutes away. So they have no bearing on this. But having an off-licence slap bang on the esplanade would be disastrous. I also do take note of Mr. Panchal's comments regarding managing potential risk, and they are to be welcomed, but they are effectively of no use. Whether or not it is a seasonal trade is utterly irrelevant. And individual cans or 2s and 4s being sold is frankly irrelevant as well. They'll just buy large boxes, which we saw actually in some of the footage, and just get even more drunk. And I appreciate the concessions re-glass. That's not the point. It's the fact that alcohol is on sale at all is what is the problem here. I also think, and I'm wrapping up now, but basically I'd like to leave committee with this thought that granting a licence will exacerbate the problem of public safety, crime and disorder, protection of children from harm, resulting in a further drain of police time and resources and damaging the hard-won reputation of Barry Island as a family-friendly resort. Even with every mitigation measure in place, the problem with this application is quite frankly that the esplanade on Barry Island is an unsuitable place to be selling alcohol for off purchases. So please refuse this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor William. Any questions for Councillor William? No. Mr. Panchal, do you have any questions? No. Okay, thank you, Councillor William, for your input.
Thank you, Chair.
Can we go back then to PC Powell if he's available? We obviously have written representations from PC Powell, but I presume he wanted to enlarge on those.
Chair, it's saying in the chat that Stephen Powell no longer has access to the chat.
No, he's not on the thing. You're quite right, Councillor. He's not rejoined us as yet, Chair.
Well, I think in that case, then we're probably going to have to rely on his written representations. Richard, can you advise?
Chair, it's quite difficult to know. Obviously, he's entitled to expand upon those written representations. Could somebody clarify in a conversation with him as to whether or not he's happy for those to be taken on board?
Chair, if it pleases the committee, I can put a quick phone call into PC Powell.
If you could do that, please, because obviously we need to get on, and
I'll do it now.
Sorry, Chair, are you?
Yes, Mr. Panchal?
Sorry, what are we waiting for?
We're waiting to try to get PC Powell to give his representations. And unfortunately, the technology is letting us down at the moment, or letting him down.
Yeah, I always come across this every hearing I go to, and every hearing we do. I do about literally 1 or 2 hearings every week, and we get these technology things come in all the time. Yeah, wait.
Chair, got PC Powell on the phone. He's in the process of trying to log back on now to speak, head of the committee.
Okay, we'll give him a couple of minutes then. Mark, is it the option for PC Powell to use the telephone to?
Yeah, on the invite that was sent out, there is a telephone number, Chair. If he can't access via his laptop or other device, he could ring in as well.
Yeah, Chair, he's just coming into the Teams meeting now.
Right, just admitting him in now, Chair. He should have joined us now.
PC Powell, can you hear us?
Yeah, apologies for that. Technology, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add, if I'm allowed, in relation to the videos that PC McCarthy submitted. I was present in most of those videos, which, as you can see, pretty horrific. I just wanted to say that, being the island community officer, I'm the officer that has to go the next day and face members of the public and face the paraders that have obviously witnessed these events. And I feel as though I'm letting them down by not being able to do anything about what happens. And it's somewhat embarrassing for myself, having to pick up the pieces after these events and try and get the island back to the way that we want it. As what's already been said, and no doubt PC McCarthy's put it in the notes, the issues we have are with the youths bringing alcohol onto the island. They're not going to the licensed premises and carrying a few pints over. They come in droves with it on their shoulders off the trains, and it's happening year after year after year. It's the same issues we have every summertime. My concern is if you've got alcohol readily available on the island where they can come off the beach and pick up another case and go back onto the beach, we're just not going to be controlled. What they bring with them, we're managing to control. If they've got a premises that's literally on their doorstep, we're not going to be able to control it, in my view. And that's my only concern, is that. So if anybody's got any questions for me, I'm happy to reply.
Any questions for PC Powell? No? Okay. Checking down my lists. I think everyone has spoken, so it is basically now down for the police as the responsible authority to sum up their case, and then we will come back to Mr. Panchal to make the closing statement for the applicant. So, Peter McCarthy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Understand I've taken a lot of the meeting time today presenting the evidence. As a reminder to everybody present, the police position with this application is one of an outright objection. We feel there are no conditions that could be proposed on the licence that would address our concerns of the readily available alcohol on Friars Road. The body-worn video footage that you've seen shows what officers are already having to deal with each and every summer, as alluded to by PC Powell moments ago. And this is before there was an off licence on Friars Road or adjacent to the promenade. The granting of this licence will lead to an increase in alcohol-fuelled crime and disorder and antisocial behaviour, and lead to increased pressures on the local policing teams. Furthermore, they will undermine all four of the licensing objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The applicant hasn't paid any heed to the guidance around any negative result his off sales may have as further guidance. I would ask the committee to wholly reject this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter McCarthy. Mr. Panchal, would you like to sum up your application, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I would like to bring it to the notice of the police when he's saying that there's no heed paid to the whatever is happening at there on the licensing objectives. But may I make it absolutely clear, during our application time, all the four licensing objectives were looked at, and we have further today also presented how the matters can be resolved in the area. We understand it is a difficult area. We understand there is a lot of problem in that area and we also understand that at the moment the police haven't, and you've heard that haven't been with the businesses to see what best ways we can go through. And I think there can be best ways to go through. Guidance 1447 on cumulative impact zone, it clearly states that once away from the licensed premises, a minority of consumers will behave badly. To enable the general public to appreciate the breadth of the strategy for addressing these problems, statements of policy should be also indicate the other mechanism both within and outside the licensing regime that are available for addressing such issues. For example, planning control, positive measures to create a safe and clean town centres, CCTV, which we are mentioning in our application. So there are terms and conditions that you can look at. When there is a public space protection order, you need to understand that at the moment, Mr. Singh hasn't sold anything. It could work out that we could work with Mr. Singh, the responsibilities could work with Mr. Singh. I understand there's a huge problem on the island there. So, and we're trying to address that. So, Chairman, we would like to work with the responsible authorities. We would like to come out and say, yes, we can look at things. Mr. Singh does understand the 4 licensing objectives. He understands the training, he understands everything, and it would be a good idea if the responsible authorities did get in with Mr. Singh and see what are the best options available for a safer environment in that area. That's all we can say at the moment, but we would, our client would like to work with the responsible authorities in this case.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Panchal. Any members, any final questions before we leave to deliberate? No, Pam says no. I can't see Rachel. Rachel, are you happy?
Yes, sorry, John, I put my camera back on. Yeah, no questions from me. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, if I hand over to Mark, perhaps he can explain to everyone what happens next.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Just to make people aware, obviously the committee now will retire and make their decision. What we will do is obviously adjourn the meeting. I would ask, obviously, anyone not part of the committee, and obviously that includes licensing officers, police, and other people that have attended, to leave the meeting. So we will only have the committee members, myself and the legal officer still on. So if everyone else can leave, obviously I will get in touch with Mr. Panchal and the police, PC Scott McCarthy, when we're ready to come back for the committee to make their decision. Mr. Panchal, can I ask if I get in touch with you, if I drop you an email, will you be able to get in touch with Mr. Singh as well to let him know to rejoin? Is that possible? I don't have a telephone number, I'm afraid.
Okay, do you have our mobile, or you don't have the mobile of the... I
don't know if it was on your email, Mr. Panchal, but I'll send you something separate and you can share your telephone number with me via email. So if everyone is happy, if obviously the committee members, legal officer, myself stay and everyone else leaves now, we will adjourn the meeting and obviously bring back the interested parties once a decision has been made. Okay.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, thanks everybody for your participation this morning.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, Chair, I will stop the recording now. I'll also ask my colleague to stop live streaming. I'll let you know once that's done, okay?